another new Frank Miller cover. Are you ready?
Are you ready for Jason Momoa as Lobo?
And how did the Hellcat escape hell? The answer to these burning questions and more on a new episode of Bronze and Modern Gods right now. Richard.
Hey, John.
How's it going? How's it going, everybody? Hope your 2025 is off to a roaring start. Let's get right into it. Look at this. This is the new Red Hulk Frank Miller cover.
You know, I saw this and immediately had to go get my Dark Knight Returns cover, and he can draw.
Did you have to wash your eyes out with some saline solution or something?
But this is him now. This is not an aberration for him. This is his style now.
I don't hate it. This one I don't hate. Am I wrong for not hating this one? Yeah, it seems very similar to the other ones he's doing, but it looks like someone got a hold of him a little bit and said, "Hey, you know, let's tone down the cubism a little bit."
Yeah.
I don't know about the rocks. Everything has these rocks. All these covers he's doing with these tiny little rocks. Does he not want to draw a background anymore, or what's going on?
Yeah, you know what? If it was just Hulk with speed lines or something else besides these little pebbles all around him that really don't add much to the composition. Yeah, as far as the Red Hulk, okay. Yeah, I can feel it. I don't feel as disappointed as I've seen some of his other recent covers. This does have some merit to it, but maybe someone did talk to him about cleaning up his lines.
Well, the colorist is doing a lot of the heavy lifting here too. I mean, we got to be honest. What do you guys think?
Neither John nor I are multi-million-dollar artists like Frank Miller. So what do we know?
No, but I can't explain art, but I know it when I see it. I don't mind. It's, you know, it's Kirby-esque. You know, Jack got a lot of this at the twilight of his career. You know, Jack can't draw anymore. Now it just seems to be, you know, this generation's turn, Gen X's turn, because JRGR gets a lot of slack too, or a lot of flack, not slack. He gets a lot of flack for his style now. It seems like the older you get, the more expressionistic and impressionistic, and it becomes less about anatomy and more about suggestions of anatomy. Does that make any sense?
Yeah. You know, it's like Bruce Springsteen's 7th album.
Oh God.
It's not as impactful as Born to Run.
They're not saying boo, they're saying Bruce. I don't know. I think they're saying boo now. Let's move on before I PO all of the Bruce fans out there with our hot book of the week. Richard, look who it is.
Yeah, this is up my alley. Justice League International number 18 from DC Comics 1988, featuring Guy Gardner and Lobo.
This is seeing a spike in sales after Jason Momoa apparently confirmed he's going to be playing Lobo in the new James Gunn DCU movies. Raws of this are selling for as high as $12 on eBay. Were you still buying comics when the Keith Giffen, JMD Matthias, Kevin Maguire run was happening?
I think I was. I don't remember this run though. Yeah, I can't believe I was reading Justice League.
That first 2 years of Justice League, where it was humorous but still, you know, sort of grounded in superhero adventure, was just classic. And then it just got a little too wah ha 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 ha, knee slappy, corny almost. But think about this book. Justice League starts off with Kevin Maguire, and then Kevin Maguire's replacement, Adam Hughes. Anyone?
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Adam Hughes, Fire and Ice. I don't believe those issues go for a lot, which is weird because his covers carry a premium, and yet people don't seem to want to collect his Justice League run.
Yeah, Guy Gardner is just what am I? I'm not sure. I agree with the casting for Guy Gardner. It's the
you don't like Nathan Fillion. You don't like a bowl cut.
I love Nathan Fillion. Don't get me wrong. Everything that I've seen Nathan Fillion in, I have thoroughly enjoyed. I'm working my way through The Rookie right now, the TV show The Rookie. But he's kind of old for Guy Gardner.
He looks like him though. Look with that bowl cut and everything. Yeah, well, we'll see.
I always picture Guy as some guy in his late 20s, maybe early 30s as he got older, but not guy. Nathan Fillion he's our age.
How dare you? The nerve. Yeah. If you want to saw us in half and count the rings, you can meet Richard and I at ComicCon, February 1st and 2nd, just around the corner at the Anaheim Hilton in Anaheim, California. You can also see some real special guests, not us. You can see Jim Starlin, Don Simpson, Howard Chaykin, Mark Teixeira. But you're going for the tons of excellent dealers and collectors at this 100% comics focused show. Richard, are you excited?
I am excited. I'm going to bring my envelope full of cash again.
No.
Please, nobody hold me up on the way in. But no, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be an excellent opportunity to pick up those keys that just have been, a little out of range here until recently.
I think there's going to be lots of wheeling and dealing. We're going to bring some funny books to sell as well at our little table. We'll be streaming live from the convention. If you want to join us, please go to calcomiccon.com for more info and tickets. Or do you see this thing here on the screen? Newfangled tech. QR codes have been around for like 20 years now at this point. I remember that this vendor came in and they specialized in QR codes, and they came into this presentation and everyone was like, no one's ever going to use a QR code. No one's ever going to take the time to point their phone at this thing and do it. And they were kind of right for the first 5 years, right? I mean, I just think back, completely uncomic related.
No, it was until Apple integrated scanning the QR code with being able to just hit the button and you were able to find, to go to the site.
So scan this, get your tickets.
Yeah, scan it. Show up.
Show and tell. Woo. All right, Richard, I want to talk a little bit about music here before we get to comics. If you hate the music portions of the podcast, skip ahead about a minute and a half. I am on the biggest Lloyd Cole kick. Did you ever like Lloyd Cole and the Commotions?
No, I can't say that.
Oh, you guys have not listened to Lloyd Cole. Check it out. It's Lloyd Cole, just like it sounds. 2 L's. His first name, especially a song called Forest Fire. Anybody familiar with Lloyd Cole, give me some validation in the comments. What are you listening to?
I have had earworms. We're watching What We Do in the Shadows, What We Did in the Shadows. I can't remember the name. Great show. Awesome show. It is hilarious.
Gizmo.
But they Jukebox Hero came up. And so I have been singing Jukebox Hero. Oh,
how can you stand to listen to Foreigner after growing up the same way I did, with it being shoved down your throat every 30 seconds on the radio?
Foreigner 4 was one of my favorite all time. It was such a good album. So many good songs on that album.
Who played synthesizers on Foreigner 4?
I don't know. Who?
Thomas Dolby.
Oh, did he really?
I didn't know that. Under a pseudonym, because he didn't want to ruin his career. Smart guy, that Thomas Dolby. All right, show and tell. Kong the Untamed, #1. Showing this because this is a Bernie Wrightson cover.
Oh, okay. I actually like that cover.
Yeah, Bernie Wrightson kind of having a renaissance with all of his Bronze Age horror covers for DC, but nobody ever talks about the Kong the Untamed covers. This is just really cool. I like the angle. I like everything about it. This is part of that whole DC adventure line that they launched with Warlord, Justice Inc., Stalker, and they all failed within like 4 or 5 issues, except for Warlord, which kind of hung on there. But yeah, little Bronze Age DC fun today.
Yeah, you know what? I've been going through, and and we'll see later on in the show. I'm having a newfound respect for DC and their willingness to experiment, and I feel Marvel has fallen into kind of some tropes when it comes to the superheroes.
Mhm.
And I feel DC has been more adventurous, and I wish it had worked out for them. And I can't say financially it has, but I think artistically it has been.
Well, it's funny you say that because all my books today are DC.
Oh,
And it's funny if you look at these top 10 hot comic trending lists, the majority of the books on the hot 10s this week are DC. Lots of Jason Momoa, Lobo related stuff, lots of Superman, crypto related stuff, the absolute Batman stuff. So DC kind of, rising from the dead. What's your first? Yeah.
James Gunn saved them.
Is your first show and tell a Marvel book?
Yes, of course it is.
Yes.
This was gifted to me. This is the Villainy of Dr. Doom.
I've never seen that.
Yeah, it's a anthology of different Dr. Doom books. For example, we've got Dr. Doom's the Fantastic Four Annual #2, which is the origin story for Dr. Doom. You get to see how he started as a character, and then you've got just a variety of different issues of Fantastic Four in here. You got 30, 39, and 40.
Oh, classic.
Yeah, all the real classic stories of Doom. Some great. You got some great Byrne stuff here in the back. You can see you've got a ton of Jack Kirby art in here. It's just a really neat collection of Doom specific stories. So,
is it all Fantastic Four stuff, or is there like supervillain team up or solo stuff in there?
No, everything that I've seen in here is straight up Fantastic Four.
Okay.
Got here's some more. It's just Fantastic Four, but how prevalent he is as a character in FF, and the fact that it spans everything from early Doom's the early Jack Kirby stuff all the way through, and it stops at the last story is John Byrne's story.
Okay. Is there a story behind the gifting of that? Is shareable?
No, there is not. I was looking on downstairs on my shelf for books, and this book was on my shelf. I honestly don't know how it got there. It very well be Christmas present from my wife from last year. But she
doesn't watch the show. It's okay.
I'm gonna have to go through. This is a great compendium of Doom stories. The stuff that's classic. I mean, look at that. Look at those panels.
Yeah, that's classic Jack.
Yeah, that is just amazing. And it's kind of why I fell in love with Doom as a character was the artwork and and his attitude. So yeah, this is a book that I'm going to read to kind of get that nostalgia.
Well, my second book, my DC focus is Kong the Untamed #2, another Bernie Wrightson cover. No, I did not go in and just pick up books in the Ks. I wanted to show just the different Bernie Wrightson stuff, and it's really cool. The inside is not as exciting, unfortunately. I believe it's Dave Wenzel doing the interiors.
And am I just a crusty old man, but I love the trade dress on that.
That's that classic DC 75, 76 when they tried to do Marvel, their own kind of banner. Mm-hmm. And then for the bicentennial, it was like, cut it out and collect them all and you'll get a free belt buckle.
Oh.
How many comics were mutilated for that stupid belt buckle? What do you got next?
Next is a character that I have not really talked about. This is the issue of 2000 AD. And you've got Rogue Trooper there on the cover. Rogue Trooper is a great character. He had his own book back in the 80s. I don't know if there are reprints of that at this point. For some reason, he's not that popular of a character. He was basically a clone soldier who decided that he was going on his own, therefore the rogue part of it. But yeah, it's good war stories taken from kind of a futuristic angle, and I always looked at him as being the army equivalent of Judge Dredd in 2000 AD.
We're all clones, all of one and one are all.
Yeah, and then, the nice thing about 2000 AD, there has to be a Judge Dredd story in here. So
2018 in color?
that's the only panel. It's just the splash.
Okay.
The rest of it is all in black and white.
Got it.
But yeah, these are great. Whenever I come across these in a flea market or comic book store, I always pick up a couple of 2000 ADs. It's hard.
Can't do it. They're as difficult to store as treasury editions. I can't do it. I can't. All right, Richard. This is a book that I don't think you might not even know about because you were out at this point. So Chris Claremont gets removed from the X-Men after making it the X-Men, after reviving Marvel's fortunes along with Star Wars in the 70s. So he does the right thing, I guess, when you get pissed off at Marvel. He goes over to DC, strikes a deal, creator-owned property within the DC universe called Sovereign 7.
Oh, okay.
Issue 1 with Dwayne Turner. So it's Chris Claremont, Dwayne Turner. It looks very mid-90s, doesn't it? See the giant guy. You have your standard giant guy in the background. You have your female with the sword. You've got your Gambit-looking guy. You've got your Kane from X-Force looking guy. All the ingredients. Lasted about 3 years.
Oh, okay. Well, how did you feel about it?
I read the first issue and I was like, I don't understand a thing that's going on. Oh, Chris Claremont.
Okay.
It's typical Chris Claremont. He's got a past. No one knows about his past. We'll find out little bits and pieces about his past. Goddess. Oh,
God. Are you making fun of Chris Claremont?
No. I'm not making fun of Claremontisms at all. What's your final show and tell book?
My final is actually a series of books. These were inserts. There are you remember these?
The newspaper inserts.
Yeah, newspaper inserts, and they are marked as not for resale. They came stuffed in newspapers back. I'm not sure exactly how long ago was this.
Did you get those from the Cleveland Plain Dealer?
2006. I've gotten all these local, so I'm assuming that they were Plain Dealer, and they're basically they are the story from this particular comic book. This happens to be Amazing Spider-Man #6.
They were just redrawn from the original Lee Ditko stories.
Right, exactly. So you have I'm not sure exactly how many they have. I have a huge number of them here. I see number 12 as being the largest volume. I don't have number 1, unfortunately.
You just showed it. Right there is number 1, right? You're holding it in your hand right
That's
now.
Spider-Man #1, but this is volume 2.
Oh, so you're thinking Amazing Fantasy 15 was it?
Yeah.
Okay. Are they all newsprint? There's no glossy cover because I see them flopping around in your hands.
Nope, they're all just newsprint.
Okay.
Yeah. They're not worth anything. I just think it's a cool idea and gives you an opportunity. Again, I'm a big fan of reading comic books on newsprint, or, paper as opposed to glossy paper.
Yeah, that's one of those things where fans are always like, if only Marvel and DC would try to reach out in the mainstream and do inserts in newspapers. And here's another example of, no, it's not going to work, guys. Didn't work.
Here's Spider-Man #2, and you've got, if you open him up, you got.
Oh, it's the original. It's not redrawn. Okay, so just the covers are redrawn.
I mean, I don't remember specifically. Yeah, it looks.
That one's the original. Yeah. Interesting. Was there a space for advertisers like locally to put in here's the comic shops in the area? because that would be the smart thing to do.
No, there is nothing like that. It is just the story. Inside cover is an ad, full page ad for.
Okay, right there. Hold it up. Find out where and when to get the next issue by Smart Source. So they wouldn't give you a comic book locator ad, a comic book store locator ad.
Yeah.
Oh, it's frustrating. Oh well.
And then the back is just a typical back panel.
Okay.
Yeah,
What do you think of that? What do you think of that Mustang?
I had an 07. They're nice.
Yeah.
They're nice cars. Yeah.
Better than the 80s.
Yes, the 80s who are sipping air through a straw. Yeah.
Well, for more scintillating banter like this, you might want to become a member and support the show. For the cost of $2.99 a month, you get Wednesday exclusive show and tell episodes, Thursday live streams with you members showing off your books as well. Shout outs in future videos. Yes, Lead Paint, I have re-added you here. You're here. I swear to God. And also, as you can see, it helps Richard and I go to more shows. We're going to ComicCon. We may have another announcement next week. Hint, hint, hint. Just hit the join button next to the subscribe button below here on YouTube. Or if you're listening on a podcast platform, it's in the description. Clicky, clicky. As we move on to your viewer mail.
You've got mail.
Richard, take it away. What is your first piece of viewer mail?
My first piece of viewer mail is from John Kasdorf. And we were talking about, I was showing off my Ultimate Fallout acetate. Regarding the Ultimate Fallout acetate farce, they misspelled entrust. Technically, right. Yes, on the back cover, they misspelled entrust. Entrust is an archaic spelling, but nobody convinced me that Black Flag did that on purpose. No feed pics.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, no, I'm that whole acetate thing. I think it was rushed. I think people saw, Black Flag saw an opportunity because a convention was coming up and is trying to get some free notoriety from it, and they just
accomplished.
They sure did. But what they say, no news is good, or good news.
All press is bad. All press is good press. Are you kidding? That's a falsity right there.
Oh, just ask Jaguar. Anyway, it's I don't think they misspelled that on purpose. And the acetate thing, I think it didn't work out for them. I have that copy. That's part of my collection. I'm collecting it partly because I am a completionist for Miles stuff, and partly because I love the controversy when it came up and people are fist fighting over it and all that stuff. I think it's a moment, snapshot in time in the comic book collection.
The master of understatement. It didn't work out for them.
No.
My first piece of your mail comes from our email at bronzeandmoderngods@gmail.com from Ryan Henley. Hey guys, hope your holidays went well. I'm not affiliated with this Kickstarter, but I really want to see it funded. This group has compiled all the original art and will be finishing the Schism crossover that left us all hanging way back when. Since I know you also love your Defiant comics, I thought this may interest you as well. For you guys out there that have no idea what Ryan's talking about, Defiant Comics was Jim Shooter's company after Valiant Comics, and they raised a bunch of money, published a bunch of books, ran out of a bunch of money, ran out of books. So apparently there was a company-wide crossover plan called Schism for 1994. Never was published, and these guys have got all the elements. Jim Shooter is a consulting editor, according to them, and they want to publish all 4 issues and kind of give a little bit of closure to the Defiant universe. So the link to this Kickstarter is in the description below if you want to contribute. I just thought it was very interesting. Can they do it for Valiant now?
I wonder if people get a hold of the original copyright holder, can they do things like this on a regular basis?
I'm guessing they got permission. I would assume, or there'd be lots of cease and desist flying around at this point. I would think. and if it's been blessed by Jim Shooter, why not?
Yeah, it's a great use of Kickstarter. I think we get the people who really want to benefit from it to contribute.
What is your next piece of viewer mail?
My next piece is from our buddy Charlie Dog. In New Avengers number 8, the 2010 series, Wolverine and Squirrel have an awkward moment, which makes clear that they've met in the past and it didn't end well.
Of
Or
course.
whether this meeting was as combatants or lovers is not made clear.
We can stop here. This is coming from a joke that I made, that Squirrel Girl and Wolverine had a dark past, and it actually friggin' happened.
Yes. Yes, it did. Okay, it's a great piece of understated writing by Bendis. The taxi thing is apparently a plot invention made by a different writer. Supposedly, they were fighting over a cab, and that was the source of their animosity. They're talking about Marvel team-ups in the 150s cover. It's by Barry Windsor Smith, so the completionists will want it. The Mary Jane as Red Sonja issue is one of my favorite MTU stories.
Ever read that by Byrne and Claremont? Oh, it's so cool.
Happy 2025 to both of you, and may the year bring many great new additions to your PC. Thank you very much, Charlie Dog. Yeah, it's funny how this thing with Wolverine and Squirrel Girl has just continued. Part of it just because Squirrel Girl's in the know, or in the zeitgeist, because she's a part of the new Marvel Rivals game, as is Jeff the land shark, which apparently is one of her pets. I did not know that. Or is it Gwenpool? This is what a Gwenpool's pet, which I confuse Squirrel Girl and Gwenpool all the time. Anyway, thank you for very much for the well wishes, and I wish you as well a great 2025.
Gosh, Richard, why aren't more people reading comics?
I don't know.
Sorry, I'm sorry. I'm being so bitter. All right. From our email at bronzeandmoderngods@gmail.com, from Al Chung. I wish you both a happy new year. I am writing to see if you have seen any Chinese anime. I find that it has many similarities to superhero comics. The story usually revolves around a main character that's continually increasing in power towards an end goal. It's like an RPG video game where you increase in level. As the protagonist increases in power, he may enter new realms, gain new abilities, increase strength, fight, ability to control objects like swords, flying daggers, have special moves that can pulverize small mountains, etc. If you have any interest, I recommend you check out YouTube for Perfect World episode 195 for a teaser of the art and action. I used to buy comics, but now mainly buy omnibuses of Silver and Bronze Age. Have you noticed how heavy some of these omnibuses are? It's like trying to lift the hammer of Thor.
They are crazy, like telephone books in the old days.
Best wishes to you both. Thanks, Al. Okay, in order. I've never seen Chinese anime. I will check it out. Richard, you?
No, but this falls right into my something that I do on a regular basis I've never talked about. I listen to a lot of audiobooks. When I drive, I listen to audiobooks. Don't listen to music anymore. And I listen to almost exclusively lit RPG, which is the exact same concept where somebody is just a story where it starts off with someone who's weak, and somehow this video game system gets overlaid into his universe, and all of a sudden he's got levels, and as he gets more powerful, he gets more skills, and he runs into more powerful enemies, and it's this whole progression. And I find it fascinating. I love it. It's like being a part of a D&D game, and you're watching the whole thing go through. One of the books that I'm reading, the First Defiler, is all the way up to book number 14. So he started off as this little wimpoid on Earth, and now he's this big, powerful entity commanding armies in space. It's a crazy, crazy type of story. So this sounds like something that I would really like. I'm going to have to definitely dig into it and find out more. This is all audiobook, what I listen to actually see it as anime would be really cool to watch that progression.
Now, omnibuses. Al, you can't read these on the toilet. I'll tell you that. I have a bunch. I have the Howard the Duck one. I think I've cracked them open maybe once to read the bonus material that's included. Like sometimes they'll have like original art and essays. I just can't read them. They're just so unwieldy. So I feel you. It's like you're trying to read in bed. It's like an anvil on your lap.
That's a good point. I mean, they're great for collecting stories, but I've got a couple, but I don't read them for the same reason. You open them up, and they're just this ponderous thing you have to put on the table. It's difficult to read in bed because it's just so huge. Now, I'll read things like something else, another book I have, which is Red Sun here.
Yeah.
I'll read this because it's of a reasonable size, and I can
easy.
Yeah. This is fine. This kind of collection or this kind of story is fine. It's the omnibus that is just too unwieldy to really read on casually.
We're the minority. People love those omniboo, man. You got like Jim Mint has an entire channel devoted to reviewing them. Al likes them, even though they're like the hammer of Thor when it comes to lifting them. I'm not a fan. I like the DC ones, like the Jack Kirby New Gods collection, because they split them up into like volumes, and they're a little more manageable, and they're almost on newsprint. They're not on glossy paper. I like the matte finish. Oh, we can go on all day. Richard, what's your next piece of viewer mail?
My next piece of viewer mail is from River Rambler on YouTube. And I'm talking about Marvel Team Up again. I collected the entire run of Marvel Team Up.
You're the one.
Yeah. Fun to collect title that shows a bit of everything from 70s, 80s Marvel. The book was canceled to make way for Web of Spider-Man, where issue 1 came the very next month with a great Spider-Man cover and offered the removal of the symbiote in the Bellwether story. Yeah. It then quickly became a C-list title where Peter travels the world more as an investigative photographer than Spider-Man, and we quickly missed Spider-Man having a book celebrating him in the larger world of Marvel that Team Up provided. Yeah, that's a very good comment on the transition. I had high hopes for Web of Spider-Man. The first issue was amazing, as you mentioned, and then it just kind of it was like Peter Parker or Spectacular Spider-Man. It was an also ran kind of title.
It didn't count.
Right.
It wasn't tied into the larger continuity. It was kind of its own thing. But let's talk about that Charles Vess cover for issue 1.
Yeah,
is amazing. It didn't help that frigging Vinnie Coletta was inking it. I don't know how does this guy get work. But it started off with like Greg LaRocque drawing it and Louis Simonson writing it. Mark Silvestri, some of his earliest Marvel work was on Web of Spider-Man. He was the regular artist on Web of Spider-Man for a bit there. But then it just became, we've got all these inventory stories. Let's burn them off in Web of Spider-Man until I think Jerry Conway came along and took over.
Yeah, it's too bad. I mean, Spider-Man obviously is a popular character enough to support more than one title. Why not have its multiple titles that are good as opposed to having these kind of filler stories that they're just there to sell books?
Well, luckily they've solved that problem now, Richard. My next piece of viewer mail comes to our email at bronzeandmoderngods@gmail.com from Panels of Joy. Hi, guys. Recently, I bought an FF number 49 in a 3.5 for a fantastic 300 pounds.
Wow.
And it presents gorgeous. I checked the grader's notes and noticed there were only 63 graded higher than 3.5 on the census because it's classified as a UK Pence variant.
Uh-huh.
The US dollar book has over 6,000 on the census, and they never even had to leave the States. I heard the UK books were packed onto boats and some used as ballast whilst being transported. So really, should the Pence variants be worth more? My granddad told me they make up 5% of the total print run too, and judging by the CGC census, they only make up 1% of the graded population. Would love to hear your thoughts, guys. Great show. Thanks. Thank you, Panels of Joy. Well, I would tell our friend David from Still Only 35 Cents. Did he ghostwrite this for you, Panels of Joy? Everything you're saying about it being used as ballast, about the percentage of print runs, everything has been sort of confirmed for us by various sources in the almost 5 years we've been doing this podcast. Still, I don't think there's any paperwork saying, yes, this is the print run, this is how it was transported, but these stories become apocryphal. I don't know if they're apocryphal, if they're just being repeated because they're true or because people are saying it, but obviously they've been undervalued for years and years and years compared to other foreign variants. And I don't get it. Why are they not valued as much as a Mexican variant or a Spanish variant?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, the thing about the other foreign variants, a lot of them have different covers.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're looking for this classic cover here for Fantastic Four number 49, you really have the UK variant and the US cover variant. Why the UK, which obviously has a smaller print run, is less valued is still a mystery. And it's not just this book, it's just foreign UK comics in general. When they have a US equivalent, the US equivalent always trends to a higher price point.
The Silver Age Pence variants, they were part of the original US print run. It was a black plate change. They just changed the plate. Now, whether it was at the beginning of the print run or the end, people tend to think they were at the beginning of the print run because the colors are more striking. There's more ink on the cover, which would lessen as the print run continues. So if you're not following Still Only 35 Cents here on YouTube, Panels of Joy, if I were you, I would rush over and subscribe to that channel right now because this is his wheelhouse, man. He's got Pence variants of all those keys. Did he have 3 Pence variants of Hulk #1 that we saw, or 2?
I think it was 2, but it might have been 3.
Okay. That's your man. Check it out. And we're going to move on from the early Silver Age of Marvel to one of the lowest points of Marvel. Yeah. The year 2000. In the year 2000, it's a 25-year rule. You're gone, right? You're not anywhere near.
No, I am gone. I found girls.
No, it only took you to the year 2000. Good for you. This was a tough time for Marvel. They were out of bankruptcy. It's right on the edge of Bill Jemas, Joe Quesada era. They're trying to come back. They're really focused on good storytelling, which is great. That brings us to Avengers Annual 2000 by Kurt Busiek and Norm Breyfogle. God rest his soul, Norm Breyfogle. I loved his art. This is the issue that restored the Hellcat, aka Patsy Walker, back to regular continuity after Warren Ellis kind of messed her up in the Hellstorm series. In the Hellstorm series, she marries Damian Hellstorm, the son of Satan. She ends up killing herself and going to hell. Thanks, Warren. We appreciate it. Yeah. How to editorial approve these things? Edgy. She's back here. It's a long story, but she got better. It's excellent Carlos Pacheco cover. It's not going to run you a lot. This is part of that classic Busiek and George Perez run of Avengers. This will run you about $4 to $6 on eBay. Have you ever read the Kurt Busiek George Perez run?
Any good?
Yeah, it's excellent. Again, another one that the first 2 years are good. Then George leaves and, not as good, still good. But, George Perez is just going to town, drawing every Avenger possible he can fit in there. It's great. Were you guys reading Avengers at this point? I came back. This was after the Image experiment where they let Jim Lee and Rob Liefeld and Louis Patasio take over for a year. They gave us Mega Boobs Cap. So that should tell you everything you need to know. Let us know in the comments what you think. As we move on to our underrated books of the week, Richard, I've picked this before. I love seeing that you picked it.
Yeah, I was reading through some books, and I came across this, and it's Hard Time #1, back from DC 2004. It's Steve Gerber, so I know you like it, John. Brian Hurd on art. It's a dark title for DC. When you had talked about it, I hadn't read it yet, so I picked it up. This is one of their imprints called DC Focus.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I was talking earlier in the show about DC being more experimental than Marvel, and doing things for a more artistic and less superheroic bent. Now, this is a superhero story. This is about this kid who gets convicted for a school shooting. I hope that's okay with the YouTube algorithm.
We'll find out.
Yeah, we'll find out. And goes to prison. Turns out he has a superpower, and it's a 15-year-old kid. They convict him 50 years minimum in prison. 15-year-old kid. And they put him in with the regular population, which, boy, I don't care what you do as a 15-year-old. You should not be dumped in with a bunch of hardened criminals. But anyway, the story it's a bit dark. It's a bit hard, and its edges, and it's definitely a violent story. It has a superhero aspect in the main character develops superpowers, but it's not really a superhero title. I guess is the best way of explaining it. 2 runs. It was a 12-issue run for the first time around, and then a year or so later, it came out with a second run that went 7 issues. That actually fast forwards 50 years, so you get to see what happens in the future. It's a great story, I think. The first issue is a little slow. It's a lot of talking about the incident that got him in prison, and it talks about bullying and kind of how it gets swept under the rug. From that aspect, I think it's a good read, but it really starts to pick up after that. So, what's your impressions on the title, John?
Oh, I love this book. I think it's amazing. To touch on why he got put in the general population and got 50 years, you're missing the aspect of the prosecutor who's running for re-election and wanted to make an example. That's why it wasn't what is right for this crime. It was, how can I get people to vote for me and be on my side? So Gerber touches on that a bit. It's been reprinted again recently. I think last year, DC Black Label collected the entire thing into one big phone book volume, which is the best way to read it because you get it all at once. Where did you find it? How did you come across this?
I was digging through, I forget where it was. I was digging through eBay,
Mm-hmm.
and came across a copy of it, and I said, "Oh, John read this. This is something that," and he was really positive on it. Let me take a read, and so I did. I read the first few issues, and it's a
heavy.
good book. It's heavy. It is very heavy. It reads more like a TV show than it does a comic book. And it has a lot of those kind of human elements to it that most comic books don't have.
That's why I was curious why DC chose to reprint it last year. If there was an option or something that we haven't been told about, how would they do it with Gerber's estate? Because he's not here to approve anything. So obviously they have some sort of rights they retained. Have you read the whole thing?
I have not. I have not read the whole thing.
So you haven't seen the 50-year ahead flash forward.
I know what happens in it, but I have not read it.
You big spoiler.
I went down the rabbit hole when I started reading.
You had to cheat. You had to cheat. I don't think it's a spoiler for me to ask who picked him up in the limo.
Don't know. It's not revealed.
No. So there's lots of debate over that. If you've read it, you know what I'm talking about. If you haven't, listen to Richard. Go read Hard Time.
I wasn't aware that there was a collection recently. I found you can buy the first run for $40, all 12 issues. But there's also 2 trade paperbacks out there that collect 6 issues each of the first series. I think that's another great way of reading it. This is definitely a book that you want to read. The value of the book, unfortunately, is not it's not an expensive book, let's say. It definitely is a book that you buy as a reader.
Season 2, the print runs get lower and lower, so I can't imagine the final issue, number 7, having a print run of over 10,000 copies. So it may be behoovy of you to get the Black Label collection. Moving on to my underrated book of the week. We've been talking about OMAC on the show. So I thought, underrated is not just what's valuable, what's flying under the radar. It's what we like to read. So I wanted to showcase Warlord 37. This is the first OMAC backup in Warlord by none other than Jim Starlin, written and drawn by Jim Starlin, who will be at ComicCon, by the way.
Yeah.
Picks up immediately after the events of OMAC number 8, where Brother Eye blows up the island where OMAC is trapped, and it just kind of ends. This backup was originally created as a backup for Commandy, but Commandy was canceled in the DC implosion, so the backups sat on a shelf for 2 years before someone finally got the idea to dust them off and use them as a backup for the Warlord. Now, where Kirby's OMAC was a bold, optimistic take on the world that's coming, exploring futuristic technology and society with a sense of wonder and adventure, Starlin's version is not that. It is darker, much more cynical, highlights the dystopian consequences of the same technology and the manipulative nature of the organizations involved, including the Global Peace Agency, which Jack, envisioned as United Nations done right. Starlin makes them a lot more sinister, what it's behind the Global Peace Agency. And also Brother Eye, which was a catch-all Deus Machina for Kirby. Brother Eye is potentially manipulative under Starlin, maybe untrustworthy, which adds a layer of tension and ambiguity. Unfortunately, Starlin only hung around for a few issues, and then it gets taken over by the team of Dan Mishkin and Gary Cohn and Greg LaRocque, who we talked about earlier with Web of Spider-Man, and really goes into a more satirical bent, which I'm a fan of the Mishkin-Cohn OMAC. What do you guys think? Ever read these OMAC backups? Any interest in it? Let us know.
I never really read Warlord. Who did that cover?
That's Mike Grell.
That's what I thought. Okay. That's
Warlord's 100% Grell for about the first 50 issues.
Yeah, no, I never read Warlord. It's always been one of those books that's floated around me that I just never picked up. The subject matter really wasn't. I love Conan. All aspects of Conan.
It's not Conan.
Yeah.
It's Warlord is its own beast. I've talked about it on the show where it was like Mike Grell said, this month, I feel like drawing dinosaurs, so we're going to have dinosaurs. Next month, I feel like drawing fighter pilots, so we're going to have jets invade the deep earth. It's kind of like Conan meets science fiction in the Savage Land with some Doctor Strange included.
You would think that's right up my alley, but it just never.
Check it out. If you take my recommendation of Hard Time. Take my recommendation, the first 12 issues of Warlord, and see what you think.
Okay. I can accept that challenge.
Challenge accepted, Richard. All right. You guys let me know what you think of Warlord and OMAC and Hard Time, and we will catch you members on Wednesday. Everyone else will catch you on Monday.
Yep. Everybody stay safe.